Dear Stacy, I really like you. Will you go out with me Friday night? Phil. Hey. Hey. Give this to Stacy. So Phil's asking Stacy out? What a goon.
I think I did it again. I made you believe we're more than just friends.
You never know which things you get for your young kids that they'll take to and which they'll ignore. One thing Astrid absolutely loved all through their young years was a couple of hit clip players and a small collection of clips. If you don't remember hit clips, they were kind of like game cartridges, only much smaller. And instead of playing them on a console, you played them on these little battery-powered players. And the cartridge, instead of a video game, it contained a 1-minute edited mix of a pop song. And oh my gosh, did Astrid love them. They just had a small collection of tunes, but they'd play them one after the other for hours. Let's see, they had All Star by Smash Mouth, Bye 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 by NSYNC, Get the Girl by Dream Street, a handful of others. But the ones that got the most play were Stronger and Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. So yes, Britney got a lot of play in our house when Astrid was but a tiny thing. But then again, so did the Wiggles.
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Yummy, 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 yummy fruit salad.
So once Astrid got to be in middle school and their music got edgy, Britney kind of faded away, as did the Wiggles. And again, edgy was their word, not mine. But time passes and memes happen, and all of a sudden, Britney is coming up again. Mostly in memes.
Leave her alone!
And despite my almost complete non-interaction with popular culture, I started to occasionally see Britney Spears' name pop up. New albums, a Vegas residency. Once again, there was kind of a low-key Britney presence in the background of my life. Small presence, anyway. But a few years ago, I noticed that there started to be some real grossness associated with the way that I heard Britney referenced. Well, first of all, there was the whole issue of unauthorized and leaked candid photographs, which seems particularly invasive to me. The secret word is consent. And then it started coming to light that Britney didn't have much in the way of personal freedom or self-determination due to some kind of weird legal arrangement with her father. Didn't quite understand what was happening there. And now, at the end of 2021, it looks like a lot of that is finally worked out. Britney is no longer bound by that weird legal whatever. And this is being seen as a victory not just for her and for her fans, but also, in a way, as a proxy victory for women's self-determination as a whole. So I guess what I'm saying is, about half of what I know about Britney Spears I learned from hit clips, and the other half from cultural osmosis, and very, very little from her actual music. I will say this, though. With so much of the media kind of punching down when it comes to Britney, it's kind of put me on her side, at least philosophically. Way too much schadenfreude going on for my comfort. So I guess there's only one thing left to do. Let's see if the aesthetics match the pathos, shall we?
But to lose all my senses.
All in all, the sounds were pretty similar. I can tell that they had like one or two sound banks that they used. A lot of those songs or sounds came out in the more like poppy songs, like Oops, I Did It Again, Stronger. What you see is what you get. They all used very similar sounds and very similar structures. And then for the sadder songs, it was very like similar structure for, all of the sad songs, the very drawn out. And then at the end, a big chorus comes out and it's very emotional and she ends by herself.
I was online recently doing some of the completely toxic social media things that apparently we can't live without these days. So either booking some faces or talking some ticks. And then I heard some guy say that they were profoundly bothered by vocal fry. Mostly dudes? Yep. Mostly talking about women journalists? Yep. Thought so. I have no issue with vocal fry. Hell, I do it myself occasionally. But I did notice that this album has more than its fair share. So if you're one of those people that's triggered by vocal fry, this is a trigger warning for you, I guess. The music content of the album. Well, it didn't take me as much by surprise this time. I think I have, thanks to the time that I've spent with pop albums recently, something of a blueprint in my brain for what to expect when engaging with a pop album. Not much caught me by surprise. I'd heard Oops, I Did It Again before, and obviously I knew Stronger thanks to the hit clips. But most of the rest of the album seemed to follow a pattern I'd come to expect from the other pop that I'd ingested. Okay, before I forget, did you know that Richard Thompson recorded a version of Oops, I Did It Again? It's a funny story, actually. As we were nearing the end of 1999, Playboy magazine was putting an article together, asking various musicians to give them a list of the best pop songs of the millennium. Of course, they didn't mean it literally. They were looking for songs from the last 50 years or so. But when they asked Richard Thompson, he took it as a challenge. He put together a list that started with a song from like 1068 and ended with Oops, I Did It Again. He even released a live CD, DVD set where he performs all the songs on his list. It's called 1,000 Years of Popular Music, and you absolutely should check it out.
Ooh, baby, baby, oops, I did it again. I'll play with your heart, got lost in the game.
Anyway, back to Britney. There actually was one time on this album that I had to stop and kind of go, and that was for Satisfaction. First of all, the, should I say balls? Try chutzpah. Good call. The chutzpah required to cover Satisfaction, changing the arrangement and the lyrics. That's not nothing. And funnily enough, I think the changes she made to the arrangement kind of work, at least in this context. First of all, instead of just staying on the 1-4-5 for the entire song, she turns the root into a flat 6 and does a flat 6, flat 7, 1 for the chorus. It sounds like it might remain diatonic, but it's actually a subtle modulation. And here's the clever bit. If you put the 3 in the bass, you get Keith's riff from the original, hidden. Kind of cool. So in the original tune, the riff of goes over an 1 to 4 chord change in the key of E. So that becomes the 5, and that actually becomes the 4. In Britney's version, she moves the riff up a major third, and the chords underneath it, instead of just the 1 and the 4, is and like I said, if you put that 3 in the bass, not bad. So, full marks for Courage. Pretty much all songs in a minor key use a dominant fifth. She leans pretty heavily on that natural 7 during the 5 chords. Slightly jazzy. The chorus of Don't Let Me Be the Last to Know actually uses the same chords with the wacky inversions as Melissa, only slightly rearranged. Don't let me be the last to know. Don't hold back, just let it go. Crossroads seem to come and go. Dear Diary is a song that a Yamaha DX7 hears in its sleep after a night of too much Zima and binge watching Doogie Howser. One more thing before I get back to listening to the album. I need to take a minute to talk about how songs end on this album. And has been taken up by a lot of pop music now that I think about it. Britney seems to have two endings for her songs. The first is, when you get to the end of the last chorus, just stop. No ending, no fermata, no fade, just stop cold. Just, that's it. The second is, when you get to the end of the last chorus, just stop, but then say some sort of serious phrase in one speaker and then laugh in the other. I don't think you quite understand me.
Oops, I did it again.
This being said, did she come here to kill? Did she come here to slay? Did she come here to work? Yes. Yes, she did. Maybe it's coming from a generational kind of nostalgia bait point of view. I couldn't help but like this album, but it's also the music I grew up with. I had a bunch of little hit clips as a kid, which I'm sure my dad has talked about by now. But yeah, very, like, I can understand if it's not your thing. It wouldn't be my thing if I didn't have the nostalgia going for it. But especially right now, you're seeing a lot of love for Britney Spears come the end of her conservatorship with her abusive father.
A week of listening to this album a couple of times today didn't do much for me. I was still pretty much thinking that this was a collection of songs I just couldn't get into. Above average pop, I suppose, but still pop enough that it never felt as if it was speaking to anyone remotely like me, which, be fair, it isn't. But then Emily and I watched the Britney versus Spears Netflix documentary, and that did two things for me. First, it showed me a bit of Britney's work ethic, which is intense. And next, and probably more importantly, it showed me where her priorities lie when she's working creatively. Britney Spears, it seems to me after watching this documentary, is more like a Janet Jackson or a Paula Abdul. The purpose of her music is not to stand on its own necessarily, but rather to serve as a hook. The music serves as an in. It gets you into a bigger experience that includes lights and pageantry and dancing. So much dancing. In fact, watching the documentary, I'd say it's probably safe to say that dancing is where Britney's true passion lies. It sure seemed to me as if the purpose of her music is to serve as an accompaniment for lavish dance numbers. And I can respect that. I've never been a fan of dance per se, but I understand it, and I can respect that. Look, the things I learned about what her life has been like over the past decade or more. First of all, I won't ever look at the "Leave Britney Alone" video in quite the same way. In fact, I might be on Chris Crocker's side now. I doubt I can work up as much emotion as Chris did, but after seeing the documentary, the points Chris made in that now notorious video, they're valid. More importantly though, it gave me a way to understand the context in which Britney made her music. I'm glad she was released from her conservatorship. I'm glad she has the ability to control her own destiny again. I'm glad that, should she choose to make another album or plan another tour, it will be because she wants it, and not because she was ordered to by her father or her lawyer. Does that mean you're going to catch her live if she comes to Atlanta? No, it does not.
I think it's fun. I can see if it's not your thing, but those are my thoughts.
Oops, I did it again.